Members of the jury, ladies, gentlemen, Fenlanders, thank you for inviting me to join you this evening. I'm Paul Hammett. I have national responsibility for water resources, irrigation and droughts, but I happen to live on the southeast corner of the Fens in Chippenham. And I would ask you to reflect for just a second. That's quite important within the farming community, that somebody with national responsibility, me, spends a lot of time on the Fens. And my story this evening is to give some local Fenland stories of agriculture, some national context and some national significance. It strikes me that when we think about how we use water, what happens when there's not enough water, that's when the issues start to build. Because what happens when there's not enough to go around? Who gets the water? Who decides? And how? And in my experience, when there is not enough water, we are all special cases. So these decisions are very, very difficult. Now, obviously, water is essential for all life. We need water to drink, for sanitation, for the environment, for industry, and to grow our food. And water for food production really is a big deal locally here in the Fens. The Fens produces a third of our national vegetable crop and a quarter of all the potatoes grown in England. And because we grow so much of those vegetables here, we support an enormous food manufacturing and processing sector. That the factories are built locally because that's where the wholesome, well-grown crops are. And so the farmers who use water to grow our food here are part of a food and farming industry on the Fens that accounts for something like 50,000 jobs and an annual turnover of £3 billion. So this is really important. But as I've said, when we have dry times and when we have droughts, there is competition for limited water. And what I want to think about is how that works. How does that pan out? Well, let's go back to the Nearly drought that we had in 2012. I know it rained and it's been described since as the wettest drought on record. But in March 2012, some of you might recall, things were very, very serious. We'd had exceptionally dry winters for the last 2 years. Our aquifers and our drains and our rivers were all low. And we didn't really know what we were going to do. You know, in March for the spring and summer when our plants needed water. And this was a national phenomenon. And government got really worried. And government called the major users of water around the table. The conservationists, the water companies, and the farmers. And government invited the conservationists to talk about what was happening. And the conservationists said the rivers were running low and there was really serious risk of fish dying and our wetlands were drying out. And the government acknowledged the importance of our environment and said that our strong environmental laws would be upheld through this drought. And then the government called upon the public water companies to have their say. The water companies were very, very worried about low pressure of water that they thought might even lead to civil unrest. And they were worried about the idea of standpipes in the streets of London during an Olympic year. And government said, we can't allow that to happen. We'll have to find special exemptions for public supply. And then the farmers were invited to talk, and they said, you know, as we've heard from Luke already, you know, our crops will not have enough water, our crops might die. The implication of our crops dying is there might not be enough food in the shops. The consequence of there not being enough food in the shops might be that prices rise. And government said, we're a wealthy nation. We will import our food. I invite you to think, Your Honour, members of the jury, that in future droughts, because there will be droughts in future droughts, we need a reliable, fair system for allocation of water when there's not enough to go around. And of course, our environment is precious. Of course, the needs of homes for drinking water and sanitation must come first. But there is a role in this for water, for farmers to grow our food.